Greetings, freaks and fiends. Welcome to Deadsville Horror Talk. I'm your host, Ronin James, and my co-host, the lovely Steph Infection.
Hi, Scream Hearts.
Today we are going to review and talk about the new exorcism horror starring Russell Crowe, The Pope's Exorcist. Before we get to that, though, a little bit about us. I am a longtime stuntman and stunt coordinator, moved on to second unit director. Now I am the producer and director of Deadsville Rock and Roll Mysteries, a bunch of Deadsville music videos, and some other short films coming up. I also still stunt coordinate on features, and every once in a while you'll catch me dying or getting shot or something, doing stunts in the background.
They're my favorite.
To my left, the lovely Steph Infection, producer and actress and wearer of many hats at Deadsville Productions. How you doing, Steph Infection?
I'm doing great. I want to dive into this movie.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking forward to it as well. We're going to start off with our no spoiler take, our first take. Give you our no spoiler opinion. And then we will dig deeper with a spoilery section where we get into the nitty-gritty and really take apart the good and bad of the Pope's Exorcist. But before we do that...
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, and we will alert you before we give any spoilers.
Yes, we will alert you before we give you the spoilers. We'll give you a chance to tune out, go watch the movie, and then come back again and finish the episode and see if you agree or disagree with our takes. But first... Steph Infection is going to tell you where you can watch it and give you the storyline.
Okay, so The Pope's Exorcist is still in theaters and you can rent it on Amazon Prime. Inspired by the actual files of Father Gabriel Amorth, chief exorcist of the Vatican, The Pope's Exorcist follows Amorth as he investigates a young boy's terrifying possession and ends up uncovering a centuries-old conspiracy the Vatican has desperately tried to keep hidden.
Political intrigue with our exorcism horror. Ooh.
Never have that.
Yeah, it's a interesting enough subplot, I suppose, in there. But yeah, you can watch it right now on Amazon Prime. We rented it the other night.
Yeah.
I know we bought it because it was like $5 more to buy it, and I figured we'd watch it a couple times before doing this, and we did. We watched it again right before, kind of put it on in the background as we were setting up to come do this episode. The Pope's Exorcist was written by a trio of what I suspect are Hollywood studio writers. We had Michael Petroni, Evan Spiliotopoulos and R. Dean McCreary writing this one. And I mean,
you don't even have to click on that because I have them all. We were looking at them all. There's just random movies.
Yeah, none of them have done anything of note. The Chronicles of Narnia in 2010. I mean, that was one guy's claim to fame here, and The Unholy.
Beauty and the Beast, that was the one.
Beauty and the Beast, there you go. I mean, he's done like 4 movies. These guys have done...
And The Huntsman.
They've written only a handful of movies each. I wonder how guys get these jobs sometimes, but I guess when you just do what the studio tells you and Brown knows, you wind up getting paid. I guess that's how it's done. I work in the business, that is how it's done. I'm not gonna fucking lie. You kiss ass and that's how you move up, man. It's all about who you know. So yeah, these 3 guys wrote this script. I suspect it went through a bunch of revisions. The script is probably the weakest spot of the movie. It's definitely my weak spot, and we'll get into that as we go forward. But let's do the director.
Yeah.
Because the director, I was really excited about. I've watched a couple of the director's other movies and really enjoyed them. Yeah. Julius Avery is his name, and he's only directed a handful of things.
Oh, he's all these.
10 things. Okay, yeah. Yeah, a couple of them are shorts. 1, 2, 3,
Oh, I
4,
see.
5 of them are shorts. So he's only directed 5 features. The Pope's Exorcist being the most recent. Previously, he has done Samaritan in 2022, which was an awesome superhero, like retired superhero movie.
Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, with a twist. What was that on? Was that Hulu?
Oh, I don't know.
It was one of the. It was one of the
it was something we streamed.
It went right to streaming.
Yeah.
But check out Samaritan. Really good action, but a really good twist. Really good heartfelt story. Awesome acting. Stallone does a great job. Prior to that, in 2018, and I didn't even realize that Samaritan and this movie Overlord were directed by the same guy, but Overlord I loved. Overlord was one that flew under the radar. I saw it in a theater, I think. And
We saw it in the theater.
We saw it in the theater, sorry.
It was in 2018.
Overlord was one that flew under the radar that we saw in the theater. I love a good action horror, and this one was based on like D-Day, and the Nazis are trying to use like supernatural powers to bring back the dead and create super soldier formula.
I forgot about it until we started kind of reading up on this, and then I realized, I was like, oh my God, I love that movie.
Wyatt Russell, Kurt Russell's son, is one of the stars of the movie.
Oh, that's right. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah. My lookalike, Kurt Russell, his son, Wyatt.
Yes. You director.
One of the stars of the movie. But he also, and Avery also did another movie called Son of a Gun in 2014 that I am unfamiliar with, but I might have to go check it out. But Avery's direction's really good. Like,
well, yeah, and I think we didn't even read who wrote it, who directed it, and while we were watching it, you were like, this is, like, the way it's directed is awesome, but the storyline is horrible. Like, it was very obvious.
Yeah.
And then when we looked it up, we kind of
we put it together and it made sense. But yeah, I mean, the cinematography's great. There's a lot of awesome shots, and the character development's really good in it for the most part, until it gets a little kooky. But yeah, I mean, for what he's handed, for what Avery is given in this script to work with, he does an awesome job. Because I'll tell you what, if somebody else might have directed this, I might not have made it through the whole movie.
Yeah,
You know?
I agree. I think,
and if it wasn't Russell Crowe, I definitely wouldn't have made it through this movie.
He was just amazing.
He was awesome.
He was awesome.
There's no way I would have sat through this movie if it wasn't for the direction and Crowe's acting.
Yeah.
So I mean, I guess we're kind of getting into our first take. So
yeah, let's go.
Let's jump into the first take. Ladies first.
Okay, so my first take is I felt like the movie kind of grabbed me right away. I enjoyed it overall. Like we've kind of already said, it got a little silly towards the end with some storyline issues. But I thought it was fun. I thought it's worth a watch. Maybe don't buy it like we did. Or wait until it's like a little cheaper, but it's worth a watch, I think, and I had more fun watching it the second time, actually.
Did you? Okay.
I laughed more.
Yeah.
Because I knew what was coming.
Well, yeah, I guess the second time around, knowing what I'm in store for, knowing what to expect.
Yeah.
Look, man, I was entertained, but I have a lot of problems with this movie.
Yeah.
And this movie does a lot of the things that I have problems with a lot of Hollywood movies, with generic Hollywood writing and generic Hollywood producing and just following the cookie cutter mold of just the standard Hollywood churn it out to the masses kind of film that we see way too often nowadays, because studios don't want to take chances on anything new and original. It's a lot of taking old IPs and rehashing or rebooting or recycling or a requel or a sequel or a prequel or doing something. And this is following in the same footsteps, because here we are in the same realm of based on true events, based on the actual files of the real person who really did this. And
where did it say all that?
It says it right on the I mean, it doesn't say all that, but that's what the poster says. I mean, you look at any poster for the Pope's Exorcist, and it says, inspired by the actual files. That's the quote. Inspired by the actual files of the real life Vatican exorcist. That's what it says.
I know, and all that means is that this guy, this is his name, and he did a bunch of exorcists.
And it inspired Hollywood to make this movie up 100% bullshit from scratch. The story in this movie, spoiler alert, and it's not really a spoiler alert, it's not giving the movie away, but this is not a real account of any of the thousands of real-life exorcisms that Father Amorth did. This is just some made-up by these 3 Hollywood hacks, cookie-cutter, by-the-numbers story for the masses to just gobble down and for Hollywood to hopefully churn out another successful IP that they can make more sequels from. And as we dig deeper later,
we better not have that many.
you'll see exactly what I'm talking about soon.
Yeah.
But this is exactly the problem with stuff like this. I mean, it's one thing to like.
This is only his first take.
Yeah, right, get ready. If you watch my 1-minute movie review, I compare this to the inspired by true events of Cocaine Bear. And if you know anything about Cocaine Bear, it's inspired by true events in the fact that a real bear really did cocaine. Then the bear died right afterwards. It didn't have an hour-and-a-half movie where he killed a whole bunch of people and there was a bunch of comedy and all kinds of stuff going on. That didn't happen. That was totally made up by Hollywood.
It wouldn't have been as cool, yeah.
No, and it's a great movie, but it's just so corny to say inspired by true events and try and... It's like they're pulling the wool over the audience's eyes, or they're tricking you into thinking that this thing is somehow real. This all really happened. And it's really bullshit. It's just made up Hollywood bullshit.
So what I've read is if it says inspired by, that means that it's loosely based off of no real story. It's probably just using actual names and characters. And if it says, based off of a true story, then it's a little bit closer, but doesn't always mean
But it still
it's
doesn't have to stick to it.
No,
Even based off of doesn't have to stick to the truth.
Yeah.
They embellish the shit out of everything. And they always have the generic tropey drama in there. They always got to have like the drama of whatever the drama is of the day. And, you know, everybody's a stereotype and... it's like they throw darts at a board. And they're like, angsty teenager, boop. Single mom, boop.
Yeah. Kid
Dad died, boop. Trauma, boop.
I do think that, just to give these writers a little something, maybe they read all of the thousands of actual exorcists from Dr. Amorth, and they were like, no, these sucked.
Well,
let's make our own.
Maybe. But you know what's really, really funny is, and spoiler, here's another spoiler, but it's not really a spoiler to the story of the movie. It's just like some writing at the end. So if you don't want to hear it, just put you go blah, 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 blah. But at the very end of the movie, they write up, this type comes up, and they say something like,
books are good.
Father Amorth wrote many books chronicling his exorcisms.
The books are good.
The books are good. Like, that's the ending line. The books are good.
I hope so.
You should also include, this is not based off of any of the books or any actual ratings of Father Amorth whatsoever. This is completely fabricated bullshit by some shitty writers that work for Hollywood.
You could probably do that. You could have done that for them.
I should have.
Quickly.
I could have put it right in there for them. Oh, God, it's so infuriating.
Yeah. I was like, I liked it. I laughed at it.
The second time around, knowing that it was comical, I laughed.
No, but even the first time. It's you knowing behind the scenes, you get a little bit more angry.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Well, also because I'm a writer and a director, and again, because I liked the director's previous work, and I felt like the script just didn't give him anything good to work with. It did
up until a point.
I mean, kind of.
I felt.
Kind of. Okay, well, let's move on.
Yeah.
All right, this is the time. Well, let's... No spoiler take. Would you do recommend it to people, I guess, right? You said you would, just don't buy it?
I do, just don't buy it.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't see it in the theater.
I would absolutely, but no, I would maybe go see it in the theater if you have nothing else really to do, and don't
see, I think part of the problem...
If you're a moviegoer, don't be like, oh, I'm going to waste my money. Like, if you're going to the movies anyway and you need something to see, yeah, go see it. Don't go out of your way.
I disagree, mainly because I think that 90% of like the spooks and scares and cool, creepy shit that you're going to see was already shown in the trailer. So why would I pay like $20 to go to a movie theater and see something where you've already showed me all the best parts in the trailer?
Yeah, I disagree. I thought there was a lot more in that
The
movie.
ending wasn't in the trailer. No, I had no idea that was
Even
coming.
some of the other stuff.
But the creepiest stuff though was like the kid. They showed the kid way too much in the trailer.
Yeah.
They even show this the sister.
Yeah.
Like you know that the sister gets possessed and does all kinds of creepy, like has her creepy moments. Not I shouldn't say does all kinds of creepy shit because there's only a couple scenes with them being creepy.
Yeah.
But you even see that stuff in there, so it's not like. You know, they show it. I mean, they're showing way too much in trailers these days. That's why I tend to avoid them. But I did watch the trailer for this one because I was like, should we buy this? Should we rent this? And it did look genuinely scary watching the trailer.
Well, I think even just buying it to watch it twice in a few days, like we got our...
Yeah, agreed. We got our money's worth, sure, obviously.
And also something that, before we, get into spoilers and everything, what I will say is, and I know you'll agree with me on this, is that it was a great soundtrack.
Yes. We could talk about the soundtrack without getting too much into spoilers, but I will probably talk a little. I will talk a little bit of spoilery, so just be warned. We're moving into spoiler territory. Yeah. Before we get to our full dig deeper, though, let's talk about the soundtrack because it was an awesome soundtrack.
We had The Cult, Violent Femmes, Faith No More. I don't know, Saints, but it was just like a fun, especially in the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, the songs they had in there though were like the songs of our youth, like when I was in, I guess
Our youth.
my youth at least. Some of these.
How old does he think I am?
Whatever. She Sells Sanctuary by The Cult is an amazing song, and then Gone Daddy Gone. That just brings back
that was
super nostalgic memories, and that kind of leads into. That plays into one of my problems with this movie.
It was 1987, right? That's when it started?
Yeah, which I get, which is good. But in doing that, it kind of had that. And again, here's where we go. Here comes the first spoiler. It was like they were trying to do the Marvel thing. It was like they were trying to have this hip soundtrack from like a hip retro soundtrack with these fun songs that everybody kind of connected to and knew, and they were using them in these little, different scenes and like quirky scenes or certain scenes. Like,
I don't think you would have thought that if the end didn't happen though, and you didn't.
I don't know. I still kind of got
see that.
Just because those kind of songs always make me feel a certain way, or I get a certain, feeling from them. And I don't know. I guess a lot of this is going to have to do with my religious upbringing and lack of religion now too, because this movie is very religious. It is very much faith-oriented, and the power of prayer and the power of Christ compels you, and it's like, it's.
Yeah, but if you really want to get into it, they said that Father Amorth would have loathed having a movie like this made about him. He hated horror films.
Well, he hated horror films, and I'm sure he wasn't about, he, like, to me, this seems like almost like church propaganda. It's like, and I'm gonna jump all the way to my ending here and tell you, it's almost like they were like, they're seeing Marvel do all this cool stuff, and they were like, hey, you know what? We got this Vatican exorcist guy over here who's done thousands of exorcisms. He's like a superhero of Christ. he's like a superhero of Christ over here. Yeah. So why don't we make a movie about him and we'll help fund? I wouldn't be surprised if the church helped fund this fucking movie.
They didn't. They actually were against it. So
really?
That was my point. That was why I was.
So how did Hollywood get the rights to do this? How did they get to do this? If the church was against it and Amorth would have been against it, did the Vatican sign off? Who did?
No, they just used his name. That's why none of his actual accounts were
How can they even use his name, though?
He just use his name. He's just a public figure. I don't know.
So they could just make a movie about him.
Somebody probably signed off on it, but it's not the Vatican. They I don't know who it was, but somebody.
Right. Well, yeah. Let's dig deeper because it's wild what happens in this movie. We get our first look at Father Gabriel Amorth. as he travels.
This was a great scene.
It was a good
Yeah.
scene. He shows up at a. Does he ride his little Vespa?
Probably.
It's not a Vespa. It's something else.
Pretty sure it's a Vespa.
Libretta. It's a libretta.
Libretta.
Libretta is the actual term.
Yeah.
He loves the librettas, and we'll get to that too.
Oh God.
But yeah. At any rate, Father Amorth goes to this. We meet him. He goes to a. He's in a small village in Italy where somebody's possessed. He thinks they're possessed. He's doing an investigation for the church, and he goes in and he's asked a few questions. And
how is he showing possession? Always speaking English and
speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
And do they have a TV? Yeah, they have a TV. Oh, okay. And he goes and he. Talks to the spirit, and they have this big pig with them.
Well, right away he says, are you? What is your name? And usually they'll say a demon name, but he said, I'm the devil. And so he said that's usually a sign that it's mental health and it's not an
they won't
actual-
even say a demon name because in order to do a true exorcism, a demon does not tell you his name. You have to know the demon's name to exorcise it. So a demon's not going to tell you his name to begin with.
Yeah.
But
saying the devil, and he's like, already he was like, what? Like I kind of, as soon as he said, do they have a television? I was like,
that's when
this
you were
is
like,
where
okay,
this is going.
we're going to see the...
We're going to see what he does, and he, is going at the kid, and he almost looks like a regular, like possessed, but, human in any other movie that I've seen.
Yeah, he looks like he's...
And they bring this big pot-bellied pig in, and he's like, I don't think that you are powerful enough to possess this pig and leave this boy, and he does... He does, and he tricks him in, and they shoot the pig, and then kid thinks he's
he
normal.
puts his hands over him after the pig's dead. He's like, there you go, my son, you've been saved.
God saved you, or whatever, something, yeah. So, it was a good opening scene, and then we kind of cut to him flirting with some
So then we
nuns.
cut back to the Vatican, and and there's where like the politics.
Yeah.
We got to have politics here. We can't just have a straight ahead exorcism movie without some kind of subplot. You got to have some kind of subplot, and we got to show that Father Amorth is a rebel. We got to show that he's rebellious, and he's, he doesn't do things by the rules, man.
I like this little cuckoo.
He's a kooky guy. Yeah. He doesn't follow your rules, man. But the church tribunal calls him in, and they're asking him about doing a exorcism that he didn't have permission to do, and they're talking about this one that just happened, and he says, well, to be honest with you, it wasn't an exorcism because the kid wasn't really possessed. It was just a mental health trick that I do, and it made him think that he was cured, and now he thinks he's cured, and it's not really. So I didn't need possession to do. Gotcha, and we kind of see his kind of rebellious side. He walks out. He's like, "Hey, you are not my boss." The Pope. He kind of learn he answers directly to the Pope in this scene. We get some good backstory here on who he is, what he's about, his quirky personality.
Something that we missed that's going to come up later. That to let you know that it's a true exorcist is he has this like medallion that he kind of goes over and makes like whoever he's going, to exorcise, see if their eyes do anything, and we don't really know what he's doing in the first scene, but it comes back later where you realize that medallion is going to tell you that there's an actual demon in there. So
he has some trinkets. He has some
trinkets.
He has some objects, some holy objects that he does wield.
Trinkets.
Real quick on the cast, though, we kind of jumped over our cast here as we got to everything.
You good?
Let's start off. Obviously, Russell Crowe plays Gabriel Amorth, and he's amazing.
Yeah.
He goes from like Italian to English to Latin.
He was
I think
great.
Some Spanish in
a
there.
little larger, but he was good.
And he's definitely girthier.
He's such a great actor.
But his presence, every second he's on screen, his presence just oozes all over, and he just chews up the scenery. He's awesome. Awesome job. Daniel Zavado is Father Escabel, who winds up being the priest on the scene with the family when we eventually get to the little boy, the main exorcism that the story follows. And he does a really good job as well. He's got his own troubled past,
Very
and the
handsome.
two of them both have their issues with their faith and stuff like that. But he does a really good job, and he's good looking guy. Young guy, and kind of sets up, you know, again, if we're going in a franchise direction here, if we're going for 199 of these, we'll get to that in a bit. Franco Nero plays the Pope, and Franco Nero is a legendary Italian actor, and his presence as the Pope. He's only in a few scenes, but man,
I think
he's
2,
just like, he's so good. He's just like, you can just tell he's like one of those actors that just has that presence, man. Just look at his picture on IMDb, you're just
looks like
man,
Scott Disick.
This
there
dude
for
was
some
like,
reason.
this dude was the man back in the day, like the 70s, and he was. So,
Mom?
Alex Esso was Julia, the mom. She was good enough. She was,
she was fine.
She was all right. No complaints with Julia, the mom. Laurel Mardson was Amy, the daughter.
She played the rebellious daughter.
The rebellious, stereotypical teen daughter.
She's not really, too much.
Yeah, she's okay.
Not really like in it too much. I mean, she is, but not really.
Mom, I just want to go home. Yeah, I mean, you know. She's a teen girl. What do you expect? It's a Hollywood teen girl.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the standout here was this kid, Peter D'Souza Faney, playing Henry, and he's the boy who gets possessed. And
look at his picture on IMDb.
Well, yeah, they go out of their way to get they find these looks.
He's got like the sunken...
the sunken face, the jaunt features. Amazing look. And it's his first gig. He's never acted before.
Oh.
He's like a new, I did a little reading on him. He's a martial artist. He's done, right at my, a little
I
actor
didn't know
after
this.
He's like a black belt in a.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah, he's done.
He's got something upcoming, it says.
Yeah, he's got.
I don't know what that is.
He's got one other movie in post-production now. But yeah, this is his first thing. I'm not too sure how they found him or anything like that, but he was really good, man.
Yeah.
He was really good. Obviously, they dub over his voice for a lot of the stuff, but they have him say some really fucked up shit. I mean, this one
he wasn't talking in the beginning of the movie. He was like a mute. That's why.
I mean, the characters, that I will say, there are parts of this that are written well. Like there's certain. It's just overall, they just throw these tropes all in there. Now, his father's passed away, so the family lost their father, and
he was impaled in the head.
I wasn't going to jump right to that. I was going to say,
well, I went for it.
but that's why they've come to this abbey that his family owned in Ireland, right? Is that where we're at? Ireland or no? Italy or wherever we're at?
Technically, we were in Ireland because I looked up where they shot it at, but I actually forget where they were.
Yeah, see if you can find it.
Let's see.
Oh, in Spain. After the
no, they said it was Spain, but it was actually
in Spain.
They were but they were actually filming in Ireland.
Gotcha. Yes. Yeah. But it's supposed to take place in Spain.
In Spain.
So the setting is Spain.
Yeah, but they're actually at Trinity College in Dublin.
The filming location is Ireland, but it's the setting is Spain. Yeah. So. I forget where I was.
The father leaves them.
The father leaves them the abbey in Spain, so they're down on their luck. They sell their house in America. Everybody goes there. They're going to fix up the abbey, sell it, and everything will be good. Then they can move back to America. But the problem is that the boy was actually in the car accident with his father. He was there with him. The father was killed in a car accident, boy in the car, and the father was impaled through the head in the accident.
They kind of show it too.
And they show it, man, for like...
Split second, but they show his...
Show enough of it that's from the boy's point of view in the back seat of the car, and it's... Yeah, man, that's... You can see the trauma, you can see why there's... why the PTSD... You know, I know there's a lot of trauma themes nowadays in movies and all that, and sometimes they overplay them, but something like that, it is well played. That is a good... plot device, you know, and so to have something like that, and I think showing it really helps hammer it home, showing like not just being like, hey, this kid lost his dad in a traumatic accident, talking about it, but to actually show how fucked up from the kid's point of view, to see this giant metal rod impaled through the front windshield and through your dad's head. I mean, that's
Yeah, it was
That's
pretty.
some heavy shit.
Yes.
So you totally understand why he's not talking.
I can understand.
But yeah, so then he's going to be our one that gets possessed. There's not a whole lot of other
No, we don't need to go through
characters that are in the main.
No, they're not.
Yeah,
main.
those are our main characters that we're working with here. A couple others come in and out, but that's our main cast. So, Father Amorth is at the Vatican, and
we're back to the Vatican.
Yeah, walks out. Yeah, let's jump back to the Vatican. He leaves that meeting, and then we go. We go to the family now, and we have the kid, and he's
Let's get right into the Abbey. Yeah.
Yeah. He's exploring the Abbey, and he goes down.
They have
to
a
the
lot
basement.
of construction workers there. They're redoing
Construction's
it.
going on, and just like in Evil Dead Rise, and just like every good possession movie, he's poking around in the basement or looking around, and the crack in the wall forms.
Yeah, there's always something funky going on in the crack in the wall.
And there's always something buried there. And
Yeah.
of course, there's, hey, what's that in the crack in the wall? And you
Even
look
in Poltergeist, there was the.
This is. Yep.
Something just.
They always don't do
There's a
construction on
crack.
old shit.
Yeah.
Don't do construction on old buildings and stuff. Just leave it be, man. Just because you're going to disturb something in the basement. There's always something in the basement.
I mean,
Just
we've
don't.
talked about this. I am like that person that will go down and
Yes,
actually
I
go
know.
explore.
But yeah, so that's what. So Henry looks through, and he sees like the seal, and it starts to be cracking a little bit, and then And then, yeah.
What happens is the construction workers then hit a gas leak, and there's an explosion, and they end up all leaving.
Yes.
So now we're stuck with just the family at home while Henry is beginning his possession stages. So,
Yeah, so the workmen are restoring the Abbey, so they leave after a sinister fire. Yes, a fire breaks out. Doesn't it start down and by the...
well, if you remember, even at, when they go down, there's a lot of sulfur. You can smell sulfur, and they say at one point, I think, it's the smell of hell or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, Henry starts acting weird, and the doctors can't figure out anything, and the other priests.
We kind of see a little bit of that.
Yeah. So then Henry starts, he's possessed, and he starts asking for the priest. Bring me the priest.
They send our other priest.
They send Father Escabel first, and he's the local priest, and he throws him out the door.
And he says, wrong priest.
Wrong priest, yeah. So Henry's makeup's good. Like when he starts getting possessed and we start seeing the decay on the face, like it's good at first. There was some shots later on in the movie where it was kind of like, I don't know, like the prosthetics were starting to like bubble. I don't know. It started to look like a fake Geico caveman, maybe, towards the end. I don't know, towards the...
I don't remember.
Because it progresses, like his face starts progressing and getting worse as, the typical, as the possession goes on longer and longer. So, but yeah, I mean, he starts out pretty gross, and chucks Escabel and says wrong priest, and so we get...
And then we get,
Amorth.
Amorth. Now, to get there, he has to ride on his little scooter.
From his,
In about 5 to 6 scenes. Of just him.
No, it's a montage. He's got a montage.
There you go. It's a montage of him riding this scooter. That was, I understood why they were trying to show how long he was traveling for.
It's a long way from Italy to Spain, I guess.
It got to a point where we looked at each other and we were like, this is comical. Why are we still watching him on this scooter?
I mean, first of all, he's not a little man anymore. He's a large man. He's a large man on a little scooter.
For a montage.
And it's a montage of like wide shots of just like beautiful scenery. The scenery was awesome. It's all beautiful countryside and just... putting my best friend.
Now, you said you read why he actually,
Yes.
Russell Crowe actually
So
asked,
the story is, that perplexed me. I was like, why is that even in, like, why did
But I
the show
appreciate
show
it
up?
now.
Like, yes, yeah. Well, the reason it was in there is because Russell Crowe, while filming, he saw in Italy all of the priests were riding around on these Lambrettas. And
Yeah,
he
they
was
do.
just like, it was a vibe, and he was digging it. So he was like, yeah, I really want to do a scene where I'm me riding the Lambretta.
We didn't need like 7
It's like
scenes
multiple
in a montage.
cut montage.
It was like a little long.
It was a little long. But yeah, it was all Russell Crowe's idea, that one there. So if it seems a little out of place when you're watching it, just know he had to have it. That was his Brando.
I would have appreciated it because I know that they all, in Europe and stuff, a lot of places.
Oh, yeah.
They all
Yeah, for sure.
It
Yeah.
was a little long. So anyway, he gets to the Abbey eventually. And he comes in, he's kind of checking it out. He sits down with Henry. He does the little medallion thing. I mean, Henry's already given him words, and he's...
Yeah, they start talking, and Henry, he gives him a medallion, and Henry's eyes do the
shift. There's two different eyes.
So
like
there's
Henry's eyes
pupils.
stay this way, and
and the demon eye comes out, and he realizes real quick, this is fucking real.
Yeah.
This is legit. This isn't the kid with the pig.
Yeah, no.
This is an actual exorcism.
So he sits down, he kind of makes the crucifixes fall off the wall and, is mocking God. And he's asked, Amorth asks him, what is your name? And he says, I'm your nightmare. And then you see flashbacks to a point in Amorth's life when he was in the war, when maybe he hasn't forgiven himself and thinks he's a coward, and that kind of.
The demon preys on, so they go through trying to exorcise different ways, trying to exorcise him, and the mother hasn't believed, she hasn't had faith in a long time, so they kind of to get her to start praying, and they're trying to do different things, but the demon is fucking with them the whole time and preying on their guilt and preying on their sins, and. They do. I thought it was funny. The one scene is he says, before they even went in to start exercising the demon, Amorth says to Escabel, he's like, all right, I gotta do your confession. I gotta hear your confession.
Oh yeah.
Before we go in, you gotta be forgiven for all your sins before we go in and face the demon.
And he goes,
like, how long has it been?
Like 8 years, and he was like. Well,
okay.
You're a man of God, right? I mean, you're fine. Well,
we don't have time for all that.
You're absolved.
This look on his face was great. 8 years, well, yeah, we don't have time for all that. We're just gonna. You
First off, that right there I knew was BS because most priests go every Tuesday. So I don't know why.
He's out in this little hamlet, this little village, I guess, is part of it. Was it 8 years or was it 8 months? Was it 8 years?
No, he said, I thought it was like years.
Was it?
It was 8 something.
Right.
Even if it was 8 months,
That's
that
still
was
a lot.
too much.
Yeah.
And with his sin, he was having a little affair.
Yeah, his sin, he was banging one of his congregation. I mean, that's, yikes.
Yeah,
they didn't hold back on the raunch in this, that's for sure.
We
either.
see her naked.
I could understand why the Vatican and the Catholic Church didn't really want this made. There's nudity, there's cursing. The one scene where he's like, you didn't breastfeed me, mama, and grabs her
Oh my
titty.
God, I forgot about that.
Holy shit, like
How
that
did
was.
I forget about
yeah,
that?
I was like, wow. Like seriously, some of these movies that I watch, and this one in particular, this kid better, I hope he gets therapy after this, because he had to say and do some outlandish shit. And even though a lot of it is overdubbed, like, he probably still had to say it. It's not his voice. Once he's full on possessed, it's not his voice anymore unless he, like, snaps out of it and just goes back to the, oh, mommy, and the soft kid voice. Then it's his voice. But there's a lot of raunchy, bad shit that's being said by this fucking child. So, I mean, hopefully there is, like, this gets taken into consideration.
Yeah, and I had said I had watched some documentaries with who played Regan in The Exorcist, and she said she wasn't allowed to watch it for years, and they did their parts, like each scene, like so they're like not together, that she had no idea what she was doing or what she was
but
saying.
this kid's saying some of the things that he said.
I know, I don't know.
You didn't breastfeed me, mama, rah, and grabbing her tit and shit. I was like, wow, that's shoo.
Anyway,
Amorth and Escabel kind of reveal to each other their trauma, and they have like their heart to heart, and they kind of support each other and come to grips.
But the ghosts of their past keep kind of messing with them, and I don't think we need to get into too much. There's a lot of like, I think, great like parts in the beginning, even with like the buildup of, the story and this kid getting possessed and his face and fighting with Amorth, and I liked all that. And then it just got like batshit crazy when I feel like he went to go, basically he wanted to possess Amorth because he was an exorcist.
Yeah, so the demon is Asmodeus, and Asmodeus is one of the kings of hell. If you look him up, he's one of the hierarchy of hell. And that was his plan. His plan is to possess the Pope's exorcist and gain access to the Vatican. And what was he going to do once he did that?
I don't know. I think he did that before, and that's why he was stuck down there. I don't know.
I don't know either. It was unclear.
It was. I think that's
unclear what his plan was once he got into the Vatican, but that's what he wanted to do.
Well, no, he wanted to infiltrate, which is what a lot of people say happened. Like they think that evil has taken over the Vatican, and that's why things have happened. There's a lot of conspiracies out there, or truth. I don't know, whatever you believe. But there's a lot of talk that, evil has taken over the Vatican in the last few decades, and that's why it is the way it is. So I kind of, like, when I was watching this, I was like, oh, is that where they're going? But they eventually didn't when he was fine. But, I thought they were going in that direction.
When who was fine?
Amorth at the end. I thought him being possessed, I was like, oh my God, are they really going to do this? Like, are they, like, when I first take it to the Vatican?
They would have needed another hour to the movie, though, at that point, because I was like, holy shit.
No, we could have got a sequel at some point. He could have just went, and I would have been like,
still could, you never know.
Yeah.
But, all right, well, we jumped a little bit ahead, but so once So they keep trying to get this demon out. They can't figure out the demon's name. In Rome, the Pope gets sick because he's like reading documents about the Spanish case, because they start digging and doing research, right, on the abbey, and all this part I kind of fell asleep on too. So I kind of am reading it here and putting it together with what I was kind of in and out for in this middle section on the first watch, and then the second time I watched, I was like, okay, this is where this is all falling into place.
I was in and out today too. So,
the Pope falls sick, and that's when Amorth and he finds the well, and him and Escabel go into the well, and they go find like the sealed off tomb, or the sealed where the demon had broken out from. But the key is they find Asmodeus' name. They find.
But wasn't that skeleton there the old Pope's exorcist that he tried to? Isn't that the impression? I got that impression. I think, and that's why the Spanish War happened and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know about all that. That's
the impression that I got the first time, that was the original Pope's exorcist, and he overtook that exorcist's body and then got tracked down there, and somehow, I guess the Vatican did it to him. I don't know. I think I would have liked that story better if they went into it a little bit deeper.
Yeah,
or made it a second
I would have liked some other stories better, I think, deeper. But yeah, so they find out the name of the demon, and now they can go and exorcise the demon easier. But now, the kids have all been possessed. What else have we got? This is when they go through each other's sins, and revealing about the woman committing suicide. There's that whole backstory.
Well, it's just the guilt. It's the guilt behind
both of them. Amorth has a woman who committed suicide when he didn't help her enough trying to exorcise, and it wasn't a real exorcism, and her mental illness had her commit suicide. So he's kind of like,
it's just
bearing his soul there, and Escabel had the affair with the young woman who was married, and it was one of his congregation.
But it wasn't just that. He told her that he would leave the priesthood for her, and then he decided not to, and she was like devastated. So
So yeah, they all have failures in their lives, and
Sorry, I just saw that.
yeah. Well, because the books are good thing. Yeah. We'll come back to that. So yeah, at this point, Amorth decides that all is lost, and he's going to let the demon possess him to save the kid.
Yeah, and he does.
And he does let the demon possess him. He takes the demon inside.
And then we get Demon Russell Crowe.
This is when,
chubby Demon Russell Crowe.
Just batshit crazy, off the rails. We're going off the reservation, folks. Let's just jump on and take the ride, because this shit is just so fucking wild from here on out. I
didn't know what was going. First off, the amount of CGI I think that just automatically just started being used. I was like, where am I? What happened?
Yeah.
What? Where did all this? What?
Yeah, this is when it
Why
turns
are they
into
flying?
like.
Why is there fire? Why is there
like what I said earlier about
melting
the feel like a Marvel movie? This is when it turns into like Doctor Strange. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Weren't we watching an exorcism movie about the Catholic Church, where they try and keep shit grounded in realism and at least make you kind of think that God is real and the devil's real and exorcisms are real?
It was going in a decent direction until like.
As soon as he takes in it, he's just.
He actually runs towards
like
the camera.
run waddles at the camera.
Like a penguin.
Oh my God. and I mean, the CGI eyes, and it's like. So then we have. It was like him and Escabel turn into like Captain America and Iron Man. And they're one's possessed by Thanos, and they're battling each other now. As Captain America and Iron Man. This is like Civil War, so they're the possessed Amorth.
Wait, before this
is flying, and there's
before this happens, because I think I had to explain to you why Mary, the mother of God, was even in it. So
Mary floated up out of the goddamn water. There's like a tar pit in the middle of the fucking underground cavern where all this fucking shit's.
And we're like, why is the Virgin Mary here? So I think my impression was he was trying to, he was trying to he was trying to off himself. They wouldn't let him off himself. Then he went down
he tries
there.
to kill himself. That's his plan. Is he takes the thing,
and they won't
takes
let
the
him.
demon
So
inside,
then he's down.
and he's gonna hang himself, and the demon's like, nope.
Yeah. So then they're down, and he's looking at the old Exorcist, and he was gonna do something. I guess I don't know. I forget. He was gonna do something like take it out.
At this point, I had checked out. So don't ask me for answers.
Well, and then you hear this and the thing is, he was like, why is the Virgin Mary just there? And I was like,
there is a light shining from, I guess, the sky coming out of the hole and from above, and they're under the well. This is under the well. And a little light, and there's like a pool of water that looks like a tar pit, right?
It does,
We've already fucking seen here, and the light shines into the tar pit, and all of a sudden,
Mary comes out.
Like Mary, like legit, blue and white robes, bright as fuck. But
the reason it's because
Mother.
It distracted him. It distracted him enough that possessed Russell Crowe turns around and is like, oh, I can't kill myself, or I can't do whatever. He was doing something. He was doing something that we forget, but he was doing something to end everything. So they needed a distraction. And who else than the Blessed Mother? I mean,
wait, who needed a distraction? The demon?
No, Russell Crowe's character. He still had some good in him, where he was going to try and do something.
He manifested Mary.
No, the demon. Because Mary turns out to be the woman that
Mary turns
killed
into
himself.
the woman, and that's his inner demon again.
No, but I think
so. Maybe that's
Russell
his last...
Crowe was fighting with himself, or Father Amorth was fighting with the demon.
Yes.
And he was going to do something to take out.
He's fighting the inner conflict.
So then the demon distracted him with, here's the Blessed Mother. It'll distract him, and he dropped to his knees and was like, and then boom, it's not.
Comes at him.
It's
Right.
It's a demon.
It makes him put his guard down. I see what you're saying.
Yes.
He puts his guard down.
Because you were like, why did that just happen?
I mean, if that's why,
I did
sure.
Get it. I am sure.
I
am sure because yeah.
No. I'm saying sure. If that's why, sure. Why not? I mean, everything else crazy, stupid in this movie that happened. Why not that? Sure.
Why not a floating blessed mother demon in a tar pit?
But yeah, so that all happens, and then Amorth is there's like giant glowing glyphs all around.
Yeah.
And he's flying.
When this father
and then Escabel comes in and
when he starts praying, then they start like lighting up.
Well, yeah. Well, now it's the power of prayer, and this is when the final battle happens, and so just imagine Avengers Endgame where they're all fighting Thanos. But instead of like punching and fighting them, they're fighting them with the power of prayer. And he's praying them.
And some trinkets.
Well, he's holding his cross and he's praying at him. And the prayer is physically hurting Father Amorth, of course, because that's what prayer does. Thoughts and prayers. And he's blasting him like across the room with a God is the power. And it's like, wow.
He didn't say like Our Father or Hail Mary. Like he just was like yelling stuff. And I was like, really? This is how you take out like the most... Like one of the top demons.
This demon has tossed people around and thrown it, but all of a sudden he just
starts saying.
He says a few words, and his power is he confessed his sins to Amorth, and they were all good with God again. And
he started yelling at Amorth, saying,
"It gave him his powers back.
You got God in your heart. You have God in your heart." But
you got God in him.
I guess that's enough.
The godly repulsor rays started firing again. Pew! Pew! And they blasted the demon right out of Amorth. So how did the demon... Oh, yeah, the demon, like, leaves Amorth and manifests in the chick, right, at the end, and is crawling there, and they're like, and then they both have to pray together, right? And then it's like Captain America and Iron Man. It's like,
you put this thing
the power Christ, and they're blasted away.
And then he put the thing up to her head, and it was like,
it
sounded like one of those Men in Black.
Yeah, it was like the fucking, like when one of those, like a futuristic laser gun is revving up to fire, like doing one of them jaws. That's what it's like. It's like,
you put a crucifix up to your head.
Oh no, that's right. Remember, because of what's his name's come back too. Escabel's chick comes out of nowhere.
Oh, she blew up.
No, but remember, she rose up though to attack him. They were both battling them at the one point. Yeah, Amorth's. That's what happens. So Escabel blasts. He uses his Iron Man repulsor cross to blast the demon out of Amorth, and Amorth's own faith, of course, helped push it out because he's a holy man, he's faithful, and so push her out, and she manifested as his. That's the Mary manifested as his thing. Remember, she comes crawling out from behind the tombstone. I do. So he's got to fight her, and then. Escabel's chick comes up and she's all covered in blood and buck naked.
Oh yeah, covered in blood.
And then did she say like "fuck me, father" or some shit like that?
She should have if she didn't.
At some point she says it. There's some "fuck me, father" in there. There's some raunchy shit, and she's totally naked, covered in blood, hot as fuck, and so he's got to fight her. And I think, that's right. That's when he puts the thing to her head.
Some type of something.
He has his cross. And he's just
they weren't both crosses.
No, Escabel has the circle.
Oh, the circle.
I'm sorry. Escabel has the cross. Amorth has the circle.
Yes. Okay, that was the.
Yeah, so Amorth does it on the main demon, but Escabel.
You could see it like lighting up on the forehead.
Yeah. And then it pulls her, it like sucks her up into there, and then they both have to pray. But Escabel takes out his hot naked blood demon chick with his fucking cross. And it's a really cool scene. She like bubbles up, and while she's like trying to straddle it, it explodes, and there's blood everywhere. And that's a cool fucking. That was a cool death. That was a cool fucking.
That was cool. Yeah, and then the other one goes in the tar pit.
Yeah. Well, because he's like they both have to.
It's so weird though.
They're standing there and they're like, "Oh, the power of my Catholic repulsor Avenger."
But I feel like
Dakota ring repels you. Pew pew pew.
Everything was like kind of realistic up until this ending.
And then it just went bonkers. I will say that, like before, you were saying like you didn't really get the that like off the rails feeling till the very end. When the sister was possessed and she crawled up the wall, I was like, this is kind of like, is this, are we in the Insidious universe here? I felt like that's where we were.
I don't remember that really happening.
When she does, when her head twists all the way around.
Oh, that's right.
And then she does like that, and she does like that. They show it in the trailer. She does like the drop down to all fours and then crawls up the wall and stuff.
Yeah, I forgot.
When all that shit happened, that was like halfway through, I guess. That was when she first was possessed, when she came back in and they were talking. And the kid had been possessed the boy was possessed for a little while. But that's when I felt like, okay, we're out of the realm of realism now, and I thought we were just kind of jumping to like the what do they call it, the Waniverse. They call it the Waniverse, where The Conjuring and all the James Wan movies take place in the Conjuring universe and all that. So I was like, okay, we're kind of dipping into the Waniverse realm here with like Conjuring, where it's based on a true story, but we're gonna embellish a little bit. But then at the end, it was just full on like
I still wasn't there yet.
Fantasy ridiculousness. I was just like, you've completely lost me.
It just went to
the tar pit and raw, and it starts swirling, and I was like, oh my god!
When the demon was going into the tar pit, I was like, they're like showing the bubbles and the skin. I was like, oh my god, what is happening right now?
This was like straight out of like the most fantastical adventure you can imagine.
Yes.
And they're trying to inspired by true stories. This is inspired by true story. You better believe. Go pray. Say your prayers.
Yeah, I don't even think that this helped praying. I think it's no. Whatever. I thought it was fun, but.
I just found it to be very generic and blah and like nothing. It was nothing new. It was like a very generic Exorcist. Yeah, we'll do our bottom lines. Let's wrap this bad boy up. Do our bottom line, and then we can get out of here.
Your bottom line is going to be a lot longer than mine.
Go ahead.
So I'm just going to say that bottom line, I'm glad I saw it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I thought it would have been a lot better if they went in different directions and didn't go all batshit crazy at the end. But I think it's worth a watch. Like I said, don't really pay. $5, $8, whatever.
Wait for it to stream for free. It'll be on one of the networks soon.
But if you're bored and fine, go ahead. It's fine. It's all fine. I laughed. I thought it was decent, and it's kind of it. It's just okay.
I hated a lot of it. I'm critical of writing, man. I'm sorry. I hate generic Hollywood tropes. I hate just cookie cutter. I hate watching something, especially if I pay to watch it, and feeling like I've seen all this before. I'm sorry, and that's what I felt. If it wasn't for Russell Crowe's performance being awesome, and some great direction, beautiful cinematography, some cool CGI.
Cool.
Like certain parts of it were cool. There was some creepy stuff in there. Unfortunately, a lot of the creepy stuff was all given away in the trailer. There were some good scenes with the sister. That scene was good, but they showed a lot of that in the trailer. There was good stuff with the kid being like rah rah rah, and aside from when he gets really like raunchy, they showed all that in the trailer. Like they showed a lot of that stuff in the trailer. So it was like, by the time I got through everything that was in the trailer and everything that was just like so generic, I'd seen it all before, I was sitting back just like, man, I was getting tired. Then it just goes batshit crazy at the end and turns into we're going to be the Catholic Avengers somehow. And let's just, we didn't even address that yet. We still do have to talk about the very ending. So this is my,
get into it in your wrap up.
Yeah, the very ending of this thing. So we also, the tribunal has been dispersed, we find out, and the asshole American white bishop who was giving Amorth a hard time, he's been sent to Guam. He's been relocated to Guam. And Amorth's buddy, Lumumba, the black guy who was cool and hip and down with down to clown and all that, he's taken over and he's going to run shit. So now he takes, and the Pope is putting all this in place. So he sends Lumumba, who I mean, could easily be the Nick Fury character in this scenario, and Lumumba is walking Amorth and Escabel down into like the underbelly of the Vatican, where there's all these artifacts and stuff everywhere, and there's all these people working, and everybody's in it. It's like a headquarters, and you're like, what is going on right now? And he's walking them down. And next thing you know, they walk in the area where there's like holograms and big screens and all that, and there's more stuff, more artifacts and stuff. And they walk over to this one board with like a map and everything on it, and they start talking. And Lumumba's like, yeah, you know, we've unearthed all this stuff, and there's 199 more demons out there that need to be caught. And you're just like, what the fuck is going on? And then they look at it, and Amorth's like, 199 demons, that is too much work for one man's lifetime. I might need some help. And he looks at Iron Man, at Tony Stark, Father Escabel, and he, like, two-man job, and they fucking, and there we go, Iron Man and Captain America in fucking Avengers fucking mansion, shaking hands with Nick Fury, getting them ready to start the fucking trilogy. Holy shit, man. I was like, what the fuck did I just watch?
I keep forgetting of all this ridiculous.
What did I just watch?
So we have 199 sequels happening.
Oh, that's when I was like, this is like propaganda. They watched, the Catholic Church has watched too much Avengers movies. They're watching too much Marvel. They're like, we have our own superhero right here, and Father Amorth. And here's his Robin. There's his sidekick.
Keep saying that. The Catholic Church did not write this. So those three people, name them. Who are they again?
Who are they? These fucking assholes.
So some Greek guy.
I'm not even going to name them again. The three writers should be fired, drawn, and quartered for this one, man. This is terrible. This is terrible. I can totally understand why the Catholic Church didn't want this movie made, why Amorth wouldn't have wanted this made. This is like, There's
a lot of,
if I was religious, I would be like, this is offensive. This is highly offensive to me as a religious person.
I think it's...
Luckily, I'm not, so I'm laughing at a lot of it. I find
highly... It upsets you even as like a Marvel.
Well, it does. It upsets me as a comic book fan, because I'm like, why is the Catholic Church now trying to steal our shtick to try and recruit? This is like a recruitment drive. Like, yeah, you want to be cool like Marvel? Come to us. We got Father Amorth. Captain Amorth, the first Catholic Avenger. And his partner, Iron Escabel.
Ridiculous.
Oh, man. All right. Well, one more thing we got to talk about. Here we go. So the very ending now we got to point this out, because we brought this up in earlier. We talked about the, it says, you know, the words come up, and I wrote many books, and the books are good. That was a callback to earlier in the movie when Amorth shows up to the house with the possessed kid, and he meets Escabel for the first time. Escabel is surprised that they have sent Father Amorth, the renowned Father Amorth, that they've sent him. And he even says, he's like, I wasn't expecting that they would send you. And he's like, yes, well, you've heard of me. He's like, yes, I've read all your papers, and I'm familiar with your work. And he's like, and the books, you've read the books. He's like, I'm familiar with the books, I haven't read them. And he's like, and Amorth says, the books are good.
See, I kind of like that now.
So the books are good.
It makes
so
me
it does
like
make
that
sense.
ending.
So the ending, it does look like a little bit of sense there at the end.
Because I thought that was just the most ridiculous thing to put at the end of this movie.
I did too. Especially considering that the whole movie wasn't based off one of the damn books. It wasn't based off any single thing from the books at all.
Well, all right. I like that made it better for me.
Yeah, nice little tidbit there at the end.
I bet you that was Russell Crowe too. Giving me what I like.
Yeah. Right. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Deadsville Horror Talk. Mm-hmm. If you've watched The Pope's Exorcist, let us know what you think. Leave some comments. Like, share, don't be square, all that stuff. Mm-hmm. If you agree with what we've said, if you disagree, we want to hear it. Yeah. Let us know what else you want us to check out. What's coming up new we should go check out? What's streaming now? What can we rent that we should look into? And make sure you watch my 1-minute movie reviews as well. They're short, sweet, and to the point. Mm-hmm.
Deadsville Horror Talk.
Yes, for you, no. Well, it's on Deadsville Horror Talk. Yes, they're on Deadsville Horror Talk on TikTok and Instagram and on our YouTube page, et cetera, et cetera. And what are you doing now, Steph Infection? What are you up to?
I don't know. Just wrap this up. Stop asking me more questions.
That's a nice shirt you got there, Steph Infection.
Thank you.
You want to show off your Nevermore shirt? Stand up and show the crowd.
I'm gonna stand up
Show
on
the people. Yeah, there it is. Woo! Rocking the Nevermore shirt.
Oh, thanks, Ronin, for my Nevermore shirt.
You're welcome. All right, folks, that's going to do it for us here. Thanks for tuning in, and stay spooky.
Bye, Scream Hearts.